Mitch, you hear me? No.
Well, good evening, everybody. How are you? Wow, 45 already. We beat the last time out of the gate. This is great. Oh, it's good to see you. Good to see you. I've seen you in the chat here. Everybody can hear me okay. Johnny Boy says, is there sound? If you can hear me, throw me a chat that says you can hear me. Can you hear me? Anybody say yep? Yep. Okay. Thank you very much. Very, very much. Thank you. So before we go anywhere, guys, I want to do my obligatory disclaimer, which I'm going to have to do every time I do this, unfortunately. I am not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. I can't give anybody any medical advice. And if I did give you medical advice, don't take it from me. Okay? That's going to be it. At least it's on the record. Tonight, we have my old buddy who used to help me moderate the chat. And Carlos is right next to me there. I'm going to unmute his mic. Your mic is muted, Carlos, so you're going to have to unmute it.
Good evening.
There you go. This is professional show business, everybody. I mean, you got to know that if you watch the morning news, and every once in a while, like right before they go to a commercial, they show you a shot of the control room with all the big TV screens on the wall and everybody with the levers that fade in and out and everything. I don't have that, unfortunately. I got Carlos, and what Carlos is going to do is, and Carlos is just getting ready to start carnivore. He's been keto for a while and on and off, and he's going to do carnivore. But I didn't bring Carlos in here for his expertise. I brought him in here because when it gets crowded, the chat goes by so fast. If people ask questions, I just can't keep up with it, especially if I'm concentrating on what I'm saying. So he's going to watch the chat for me, and even when he's not on the screen, I can see a little thumbnail with him in it. And if he starts doing one of these numbers, I'll probably go to him and see what it is. I don't know how professional that's actually going to be, but that's how we're going to try. That's how we're going to try to handle. So say hi to everybody, Carlos.
Hello, everyone. I am
here
in New York, and I'm going to do my best to get your questions read and asked. So be patient. And Mitch said that he's going to ask you guys to do write question in capital letters and then your question, whatever.
Yep. If you got a question and you want me to try to notice it, just type the word question in all caps. You don't have to type the whole question in caps, but just type the word question in caps and put it after. If we don't get it, I apologize. I've been watching Ken Berry trying to pick up on how he does it, but I think he prioritizes the super chats and the questions that come from his private group. So, but he has 4,000 people watching, and that's crazy. I don't ever think that I'll get that big. I don't think anybody else in our space is quite that big. So with that, I'm going to go back to me, put Carlos to sleep there. I am going to leave his microphone on so I can hear him if he has to shout something at me. And I got myself on my cell phone a little cheat list of things that I wanted to talk about. Okay. First thing I want to talk, and I might go for 5 minutes, but I'm not going for the whole 2 hours like last time. I want this to be more about you. I want this to be more about the people whose comments I've been reading, the names that I'm recognizing, and I want to get to know you guys a little better tonight. And that's going to be how these things are going to go, I think, into the future. Comments. I need to talk a little bit about the comments. I have discovered that the way that YouTube works, notifying me when somebody leaves a comment, and the way what they do is in the YouTube studio, I'll say show me the comments, and they'll filter it by comments that I haven't answered, and by answered they mean left a heart on it. So I leave a heart on every comment for two reasons. I appreciate the comment, and it won't show up the next time I look for comments. Otherwise, I keep seeing the same comments over and over and over again. So even if you call me names, tell me I'm stupid and killing people, I'm still going to leave a heart on your comment. And the reason I'm doing that is so I don't have to look at it again. I hope you understand that. Another thing in the comments that throws me is comments that are in a chain, which are replies to the first comment. And you can have chains within chains. And those comments, half the time, are people are talking to each other, or they're asking each other questions and really don't even involve me. But my cell phone, I'm going to hold this up. You see the little red dot up there on the top? Well, that little red dot says that there's a comment that I haven't dealt with. Now, I turned off the dinger, but that little red dot shows up every 3 seconds. So I'm running around all day, and most of the time I'll answer, when I see your comment, I'll answer within a minute or two of you leaving it. It's like, but it's becoming a full-time job, and I am not going to be able to keep up with that. And I want to say that I'm going to give it my best to read all the comments, answer the ones that I can. And if for some reason in a comment you ask me a question and it seems that I'm ignoring you, it's not. I have the comments coming at me from 3 different directions. I get notified by YouTube, I get an email, and I open my email box and it tells me I've got 235 unread emails. I open the email, and then when I click on reply, it opens the YouTube video and I have to wait till that opens. Then I have to scroll down into the comments, and it takes me right to the comment that I'm replying to. And 3/4 of the time, I've already answered the comment. So that usually happens with comments that are in a string of comments under a main comment. I don't know if this sounds as convoluted to you as it is to me, but I will tell you in the past 2 weeks, if I haven't answered 5,000 comments, I haven't done anything. And it's making 18-hour days of this, and it makes me feel bad if I can't address your comment. So in the future, and I know there's going to be people insulted, and then I end up with a few trolls. And if you've read any of these comments, you'll see 1 or 2 of the trolls. And my policy for me is I give them a heart and move on. I don't want to get into any of those debates. So that's what I wanted to say about comments. Another major thing I wanted to say tonight is I'm not a professional chef. I'm not a professional anything, really. And occasionally, I will make an error in a video and start a huge conversation. For example, my chuck steak video, 10 times I've been told it's not a chuck steak, it's a chuck roast. Somebody took their time out of their busy day to go onto my video, open up the comment, type, I'm wrong. Okay. Now, interestingly enough, I said, okay, I thought I knew what the difference between a roast and a steak was. So I went and researched it a little bit. It turned out that a chuck steak and a chuck roast are just exactly the same meat, just like a rib roast and a rib eye are exactly the same piece of meat. It's just how you cut it. So a steak, defined, is a roast that is sliced across the grain. And so we're both right. But I thought that was funny. And to see debates pop up over points like that makes me laugh. Another thing that I don't want to give the impression here on my new little channel is that for somehow I am poo-pooing on keto, on the keto diet, because I do spend a lot of time telling you why keto didn't work for me and why carnivore fixed that. But there's nothing wrong, and keto is right for so many people. And I almost wish it was right for me, but that brings out that variety mindset that I've talked about if you've watched those videos that I made. And how do I put this? I have had some comments from keto people which have been pretty hard on me, and I certainly don't want to alienate all the keto people out there, because I think just about everything that I say and put out applies equally to them, especially the messaging I put out about addiction management, because that's the downfall of keto. And I'll keep saying that as long as I keep doing this, that trying to make imitations of the foods you're addicted to is a quick path to failure on your diet if you're an addict. And that's the qualifier. If you're not a food addict, you can do whatever you want. But if you are a food addict, you're a slave, and you don't have a free will say-so in it. And all of us that have been on diets in our lifetime and failed and gone off the wagon, felt bad and went back on again, all of us should know by now that food addiction is a very real thing, even though it's not generally recognized in society as an addiction like alcohol, cigarettes, drugs. It is, and I think it's as stronger than any of those things. And I think that everybody out there that's metabolically ill is a food addict and will never be able to correct it until, like an alcoholic, they come to terms with the fact they are an addict and learn how to treat the addiction. So I don't mean to offend any keto people. I think keto is great. I think most of the influencers out there, except for maybe Sean Baker and Anthony Chafee, try to keep the conversation strictly to carnivore because that's what they believe. I put carnivore in the name of my channel because that's what I believe is best for an addict. But I'm not trying to tell people the keto diet is no good. It's fabulous. It's carnivore light is what it is. And in that last video I made, I tried to make that clear. I don't know if I did or not, but anyway, I think that's all I got. Is there anything else? No, that's enough. Okay, so let's start looking at the chat. What's that?
I have 3 questions for you already.
Oh, okay. What do you got?
First one is someone asked, are protein shakes okay?
Where is it?
It's way above.
Oh my God.
And the second question is, somebody asked, what were your symptoms after the first month?
What's the name of the person who?
I didn't.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, what I want to do is see. I can.
In the future, I'll take the question.
Yeah, because I can put them up on the screen, and I want to put them up on the screen. See, like this. I can do this. See, and I want to do that with these questions. So I knew we were going to get behind right in the beginning. Okay. The first question was.
Is it okay to have protein shakes?
Protein shakes. Probably not. Not on pure carnivore. Because most of these, and it depends on what's in it. If you're eating carnivore, the last thing in the world you need to do is get more protein from a shake. Chances are, the protein shakes that I've seen is either pea protein or soy protein or whey protein, which comes from milk. It's not cow protein. It's not egg protein, I don't think. But I don't know why you would need that, because one thing on a carnivore diet, if you're eating all meat and all animal products, your focus is not going to be on getting enough protein. You're going to get way enough protein. Your focus is going to be on, am I getting enough fat? And that is actually more important to think about, I believe, than whether you get protein or not.
Okay, second question, and again, I didn't get the name.
That's okay.
The first month, what were your symptoms after your first month?
Oh, after 30 days, I was. Well, remember, you have to remember, I came from, me personally, I've been on keto for quite a while, on and off, but mostly on, and I was pretty well fat adapted. I didn't notice a thing, because all I was doing was giving up some broccoli and Brussels sprouts and a few blueberries, and unless I binged on them. And my problem was blueberries were my poison. I would buy a 3-pound bag of frozen blueberries. I'd put them in the freezer. I'd have my dinner. Maybe I had a couple of Brussels sprouts, but it was almost a carnivore dinner. And I said, well, okay, for dessert, I'm going to have a couple of berries, little custard cup full, and a handful of walnuts or something. And I'd get that little custard cup full of berries, and I'd eat it. And half an hour later, the entire 3-pound bag was gone. And that, I mean, and I don't know where it went. I just kept automatically, like in a trance, getting up, going back to the refrigerator, got rid of the little custard cup, got a big bowl, and I would eat 3 pounds at a sitting. So I started, after that, I actually started buying 2 3-pound bags at a time. And that's just addiction. So no, but no, I never experienced that. I know a lot of people do. I know that they call it the keto flu, especially if you're severely sugar addicted. That makes it even harder. You're going to go through withdrawal symptoms. From what I've heard from everybody's advice, all the doctors and everybody in our space, all their advice is load up on electrolytes. That's very important. Take more than you think you need. You almost can't overdose on those things. You'll just pee them out if you get too much. And
third question, you ready?
no, I'm not done yet. I want to say that what's happening to you is, as your body, when you first start this, is emptying your cells of sugar. And in your cells, a sugar molecule is attached to a water molecule. Sometimes they call that cellular water. And when the sugar molecule goes, so does the water molecule. So if you're losing weight rapidly, most of it is water weight because it's being flushed out with the sugar. And you are going to find you're going to the bathroom a lot more often. And it's very easy to get dehydrated when you're doing that. And one thing that happens to you is when the water goes out, you get electrolytes flushed out with it. And that's why you should be making sure you replenish the electrolytes. And I've heard a lot of people say that the potassium, the sodium, and the magnesium, is actually lessening the, quote, keto flu symptoms. But in any event, it should not last more than 2 weeks. You'll also probably have the runs. It's not fun, but if you make sure you stay hydrated, and eat your electrolytes, and for God's sakes, eat enough food and eat enough fat, you'll get through it in a couple of weeks, and it won't be a horrible thing. A lot of people don't even notice it, from what I hear. Next question.
Third one was, do you eat pork rinds every day?
I like, maybe not every day. I'll tell you, I have all kinds of things that I put on pork rinds. And for me, in my shopping video, I referred to them as the Carnivore Crunch. And if you think about it, we don't have foods that go crunch in carnivore.
No.
We have foods that go squish. We have meat. We have,
sardines and eggs.
We have more meat, and we have eggs, and, we slurp and mash, but we don't crunch. And that crunch, when you think about it, is one of the big selling points of just about half the junk food. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. Little itch. Half the junk food that's on the market goes crunch. Everything in a cellophane bag goes crunch. God knows how many of those things you see when you go into a 7-Eleven. And I think a lot of people aren't conscious of the fact, when they start carnivore, that they've eliminated the crunch. You know what I mean? I think they're not conscious of that. And that's the one thing I've always enjoyed. I was eating pork rinds on a low-carb diet 30 years ago. I loved them. I take, you can put butter on them. You can put, I put smoked salmon on them. And when I was eating Swiss cheese, which I don't anymore, I was putting, somebody's talking to Diane in there, it looks like.
Well, she said,
Hello,
don't
Diane.
forget about her. That was my fifth one. But anyway.
Oh, okay. All right. At any rate, yeah, I eat a lot of pork rinds. I love them. Just make sure if you buy pork rinds, you look at the ingredients. Some fools actually think they need to render the pork rinds in vegetable oil and seed oils, when basically that would be like cooking bacon in canola oil. I mean, you render it in its own fat. And what a pork rind really is, and this is fascinating, is everybody thinks they're just pure fat. Actually, they're mostly protein. The fat gets all rendered out of them. What you have left is a protein matrix that everybody has in their fat. It's like a little superstructure, like the steel structure in a building. It's made out of, it's protein, and the fat is held in shape by this protein matrix. And when you render the fat out of a pork rind, there is protein in there, even though they don't usually put it on the label. Of course, there's fat left in there, but you do get protein too, and it's the protein that makes the crunch. It's not the fat. So that's why pork rinds go crunch. Okay, what else did I miss? Let's see if we can
real quick. Your wife said, "Don't forget her." But Hachi.
My wife.
I'm sorry, your daughter. I apologize. Hachi.
God,
Hachi.
I got the big one, Elizabeth. Go ahead.
Hachi asked about cream cheese. Is cream cheese okay?
It's supposed to be. I'm not a cream cheese fan, but that would sure go on a pork rind.
I just want to add, for anybody that's asking questions, write questions in capitals so I can catch that.
And that'll make me see it easier too, because I'm just trying to catch up. I mean, this chat has gone crazy here.
So Hachi said cream cheese. Chris Hope wants to know, what do you do for snacks?
Okay, that's a great question, Chris. Chris Hope is just a dear old drone buddy of mine, and it's so great. He's the one guy on the planet Earth that never, even now, even after years, he never forgets my birthday. And it's just one of those kind of guys. Just a great guy. The question was what?
What do you do for snacks?
Snacks. I don't.
Not even like bacon that you cooked. And
Why would I?
Available.
Okay, that's part of the beauty of living this way. You eat a meal, and you're not going to be hungry afterwards. But if you can't eat enough in one meal to eat your food you need to eat in a day, you eat another meal. But I never, there's nothing wrong with it. If you're hungry, eat. I don't care if that's the key. You just eat if you're hungry. Don't let yourself be hungry. Don't let yourself be thinking about food. You should be thinking, oh God, I can't eat for a day or two. I've just eaten so much. That's how you get started on this, and that's how I maintain it. But I find that I've settled into a routine where around 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, I start to feel like, okay, I could eat. And if I didn't eat, it'd be okay too. But, I'm still losing weight. I mean, I was 138 this morning. I don't need to be skimping on food. So I go out of my way to make sure I eat plenty of food. And I don't snack, because if you understand how our digestive system works, it's like a washing machine. Once you put clothes in, start the washing machine, you leave it alone until it's done. And then you take the clothes out. Well, our digestive system takes hours to go through a cycle where it devotes certain energy and certain resources of the body into the processes of digesting. And you should just let it finish its job. You shouldn't be drinking gallons of liquid while you're eating, because you need your stomach acid to have a low pH so it can digest the food. If you down, a half a gallon of even water with dinner, you're screwing up your digestion. So be careful about that. You'll find that if you're on this thing for a while, you will settle into a routine where food, it's hardly even a part of your life. You don't think about it. It's an afterthought. You're just never hungry. I'm still dumbfounded by how that happened, and it's the greatest part of this. In order to do that, you have to get out of all those other mindsets and and you have to, get out of the variety lifestyle that you're not happy unless you're eating something different every day. And you'll find that your body will reward you when your chemistry gets right. You will be rewarded with your mind following. It's unbelievable. It's not going to happen in a month. For me, it was like 6 months when I started to actually notice some of these things that were happening to me. And I've also heard from a number of people in the comments on my videos that exactly the same thing happened to them. So I know that I'm not like a freak or some quirk of nature. I think it's a normal thing. I don't think cavemen, when they went home to dinner, yelled at their wife, "What's for dinner?" Dinner was whatever meat they killed a couple days ago. And I don't think they sat there wishing they could have something else. I think they attacked that. They loved it. They enjoyed it. It tasted great. And that's how they lived. That's how they lived. Okay.
Rosemary Sullivan has a question about baking chicken skins and using it similar to pork rinds.
I see. Is that the question right there, Hand Pink? Have you tried baking crispy chicken skins and using them as pork? No, I haven't. But that's a good idea. I've been getting recipe ideas from everybody. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. No, that's a great idea. That's a great idea, Rosemary. I appreciate that. All right, so it looks like we're down to where I can actually find these things now. So, okay. What else we got here? Carnivore Soldier is a fella that left me a comment, sent me an email, and I checked out his YouTube channel, and he's good. He's got some good ideas, and I'm not ready to do it yet, but I told him that he asked maybe we do something together, and I said that'd be great. So down the road, Carnivore Soldier and I are going to do. I think his name. I've been bombarded by so many names, and I was never good with names anyway. I think his name is Larry, maybe not. I don't know. But that's somebody to look out to. Where's my daughter in here? I didn't see.
She was up. Just make sure you acknowledge her. That's what she basically said.
Oh, okay. Hi, Diane. How are you? This is busy. Dukes and Daughters. I recognize that name from the comments. Let me try to read some of the comments here. Oh, there's my daughter, Diane Jones. There she is. Excuse me, I need to be acknowledged. Hi, baby. That's so. If you knew my daughter, you would know just how so Diane that little demand is.
You got a question?
Oh yeah. Okay,
Clarence, at the bottom, Clarence.
Here it is. Yeah, I see it. Okay. And Clarence Reed, Mitch, have you had a lipid panel done lately? If so, how was it? Okay. The last lipid panel that I had done was in January, because I'm not sick anymore. I actually have no need. I have no need for doctors unless I break something. If I have an accident, get cut, break an arm, yeah, I need doctors. But the last thing in the world I need right now is for the medical community to try to micromanage my physiology, which evolved over millions and millions of years on its own without them. Their intervention, as far as I'm concerned, in trying to micromanage and regulate systems, prescribe drugs for things like diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol lowering, I think that, and I've always thought this, that they have not near enough knowledge to be screwing with that stuff. It's best to leave it alone. I think that if like Anthony, somebody asked that exact question to Chafee, and his answer was, I don't know. I haven't had a blood test in 3 or 4 years, because he knows enough to have the confidence to know that letting somebody even think about fooling around with his biology would only go wrong. Because if you feel good and you have energy and you have no pain, that's kind of an indicator that things are working right. So, no, I go to the VA once a year because I want to keep my existence known to them. When I had my head injury, they pretty much paid for everything. And there are times when you are going to need hospitals and doctors. And I do have, for my own curiosity. And it was exactly as I expected. Everything was perfect, except my cholesterol was in the high 200s, my LDL. And it's always been high. I mean, 30 years ago, when statins first came out, my doctor tried to put me on Zocor, and I actually didn't know any different. I took it. I ended up having side effects from it, so I stopped taking it, which was a good thing. But no.
Got a few questions going.
Okay.
Hachi, I'm on day 6.
Wait a minute. I got it. Okay. Question, Hachi. I see it. There it is. Okay. I'm on day 6. I'm having a hard time. I did not feel depressed before the carnivore, but I feel it now. I can do strict carnivore as long as I have some tea with cream and honey. Well, the honey is not strict the cream is okay, but you're going to have to give up the honey if you want to be strict carnivore. Now, I don't know that much about you, but I do know that you've only been doing this for 6 days. That's just not enough time. You're trying to convert your entire body from an organism that has been existing on primarily sugar for, I don't know how old you are or how long you've been around, but you've been, like most people, a sugar burner all your life. And I've studied a lot of cellular biology. I've studied cellular respiration because I wanted to learn what's different about what happens inside of a cell when it burns sugar. And burn is a word that we use that is totally inappropriate. It metabolizes sugar instead of metabolizing fat to make energy. And once you get past the first phase or two, whether it's glycolysis or lipolysis, and you get through the Krebs cycle, and once you get that far, a common product is made that then doesn't matter whether it came from sugar being metabolized or fat being metabolized. When you get to a certain point in the respiration cycle, you're dealing with the same molecule, which then goes on, and the mitochondria have something called an electron transport chain, which takes the output of that pre-stuff, takes it through a bunch of complexes, and it ends up in an ATP synthase enzyme, which actually makes something called ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is the body's energy currency. So kind of like a hybrid car. It can take gasoline, it can take electricity, but by the time it gets to the wheels, it's still something pushing the wheels. It doesn't matter whether it came from the electricity side or the gasoline side. But those initial pathways, if you've never used them, your body has to get used to using them, and that's where you're just not going to have enough energy. You're just not going to be able to make enough energy until those fat pathways wake up. You've taken the sugar away from them. So yeah, you're going to feel terrible for a week or two. But I would not worry about anything. Again, this is not medical advice. This is just the logic that I think from having a basic understanding of how it works.
Ready for your next question.
Okay.
Steve Steckler.
Carlos is keeping me on track today.
Well,
that's good.
I just want to make sure you don't. Yeah, and I don't.
Steve.
Steve Steckler wants to know about chopped meat and how to cook.
How should I eat ground meat and what's the best way? Wow, that's a question for Martha Stewart, I think. But I'm boring in that respect. If I want to really live it up, I'll make a little meatloaf. I'll take a couple pounds of hamburger. I'll throw a couple of eggs in it. I'll put some pork rind crumbs in it and throw it in the oven. I don't put any sauce on it. I may put a little butter on top, but I don't put anything on top of it. I don't put any barbecue sauce, ketchup, none of that. I don't put anything in it. No onions, no peppers, none of that stuff I have any interest in. I want meat. I want meat, eggs, and that's it. But most of the time, like I did today at lunch, I actually just squished them up into a couple of hamburger patties, flattened them out, put them in a pan, cooked them on one side, flipped them over, cooked them on another. And somebody asked me, Mitch, are you going to make a video about how you cook hamburgers? And I said, why? I just take a patty, throw it in a pan, flip it over, and I eat it. And that was my lunch. My meals today, I had 4 big, thick slices of bacon and 4 eggs for breakfast. When I got done with that, I still felt like eating a little more. So I buy this smoked salmon, if you know what that is. Sam's has it. It's not cheap, but...
Yeah, but you're not buying all the other junk like you used to say.
No, we call it lox, and I can't eat it on bagels with cream cheese anymore. So I take that. I might take maybe a quarter pound of it and cut it up, and I take a bunch of pork rinds, and I just put the salmon on the pork rind and eat it, and I got the crunch. I love the taste of that stuff. And then about 3.5 hours later, I made myself a pound of hamburger, made 2 big hamburger patties, and I just don't want any more food today. I just, if you put a chocolate fudge sundae in front of me, I'd look at it and it wouldn't mean anything like it used to. It's crazy.
Okay, Doug Hednick wants to know about the electrolytes. Any recommendations? Supplements to avoid carbs, sugars.
Sugar, yeah. You're having a hard time finding bacon. Okay, the bacon that I buy is Wright's bacon at Sam's Club, and you're right, because I've been on a tear to find a hot dog that doesn't have grains, seed oils, and sugar in it, because they used to have them that way. And they put it in everything. It's cheap, and it takes up space and weight, and that makes them make more money. But the Wright's bacon, if you read the label, has 0 carbs per slice. It doesn't say less than 1, and the serving size is one of these huge 1/4-inch thick slices of bacon. And it does not have any sugar in it. And sometimes, though, they'll say sugar cured. If they say sugar cured, is the sugar just in whatever it is that they're making smoke out of? So you can look at the carb count, and even if it says sugar cured, I think if it says 0 carbs per serving, and the serving size isn't like 1/10 of an ounce, because that's another trick that they do. They'll tell you how many carbs per serving when you buy a box of cookies, and you find out that 1 serving is half a cookie, and anything less than 1 carbs, they're allowed to leave off. They're allowed to not mention, or you know what I mean? So if they can manage to whittle the serving size down small enough so that they can legally leave that off the label, they'll pull that trick on you too. That's an education in itself, trying to learn everything, every dirty trick that the food industry has in the labeling process. And that especially goes for anything that says organic on it, anything that says all natural on it, anything that says farm raised, free range, cage free, pasture raised. You tell me, a chicken is an omnivore. Mostly chickens want to find worms and grubs. That's why you see them out there pecking the ground all the time, okay? So they have things they call pasture-raised chickens, free-roaming chickens. You picture in your mind's eye a beautiful farm field with chickens out there roaming all over the place, pecking the ground, eating their worms and grubs. And then you look on the eggs, and it says 100% vegetarian fed. How does that jive? How can you have a free-range chicken or a real pasture-raised chicken that only eats vegetables? And it also says on no animal byproducts at all. So they won't feed. I want you to feed my chickens animal byproducts. That's what they should be eating. But because of the marketing and because of the brainwashing that we all have, that animal is bad, vegetable is healthy. We are down a rabbit hole I doubt we'll ever recover from. And the best that we can do as a community is take care of each other and ferret out the truth about all this crap so we at least aren't hurting ourselves.
Quick
Yeah,
question.
I saw that CK Sidekick says birds eat bugs. Of course they do. Birds are carnivores. You ever seen a vulture eating a salad? Come on.
Have you ever been a voice actor?
No.
You sound familiar. I didn't think so. Next
No.
question is, what branch, I guess in the Army, or
I
what
was in the
branch
Army.
did you serve?
I was in the Army. Where are we in the question?
Question after that.
Diane
from-
Jones.
Nope.
Cellular, she says, cellular respiration, just normal light reading. For me, it is, D. I can't get enough of that stuff. I just can't get enough. I'm so fascinated by the complexities of what goes on in our body, and that's why I didn't have to. I've been learning this stuff for 50, 60 years. I didn't just start. I've always wanted to know, and it really helps in understanding a lot of what's happening to us that most people wouldn't want to have to. See, while all my friends were busy studying the baseball players and who had the highest earned run average and all that stuff, I'm busy digging into biology books to learn, how a mitochondria works. So it's just what happens to a strange kid when he grows up.
Dukes and Daughters has a question. I supplement with iodine for best health. You see it? Reasons?
Is it down near the bottom? God, these things are
No.
going.
Well, you talk a lot. I mean, you answer your questions.
Well, that's why I have you
Quite
here.
thoroughly.
And Carlos, you're doing a great job because
trying,
we're
really
actually no, seriously, man, you're a lifesaver. I'd still be talking about something I was 30 minutes ago if you didn't
Look
stop
for
me every once in a while.
Dukes and Daughters, and she supplements with iodine.
I see a
best-
Dukes and Daughters heart, Dukes and Daughters.
It's
Aldi has no sugar bacon.
no, Dukes and, for the what?
I don't see anything that says question.
Breast.
I'm looking for the big capital
Breast
question.
health. She says Dukes and Daughters.
Oh, here it is. Here it is. Is this it? I supplement with iodine
Yes,
for
that's
breast
the
health
one, that's the
reasons.
one.
I wouldn't know about that. That would be a Ken Berry question. But I supplement. I take iodine, and I take iodine because iodine is not a molecule. It's an element, and that's what minerals are. A lot of people mistake minerals for vitamins. Vitamins are molecules. They're combinations of things. The minerals like magnesium, sodium, the electrolytes, those things, and iodine is one of those, and it exists in the things that animals eat. And if the animal that we're eating didn't eat it, it can't be in the animal. So just because we're eating an animal doesn't mean we are absolutely guaranteed to get 100% of the nutrition that we need, because the food that we eat had to have eaten that particular element, that electrolyte, or the basic element has to be in their food. And what's happening is that the pasture land and the fields are not getting enriched enough with these things, and they're showing up as a shortage in foods. And I believe, although I haven't read any papers on it or reports, that iodine is something that's kind of disappearing from our food. So it's a good idea, especially for a woman, and especially for somebody that's having any kind of thyroid issues, I think, is and then again, this borders on medical stuff, which I'm not really qualified to talk about, but I think that iodine is something that is a good thing to take. And I decided to take it myself, and I bought the Lugol's 2% from Amazon. I have has a dropper, I think one drop is 1,500 micrograms. They call that mics, 1,500 mics. That's not a huge dose, but it way exceeds the recommended daily allowance, although I don't put much credence in them either. And I still drink coffee, which is, something I'm just not going to give up, and because I like it. And I'm 76, and I can do what I want at this age.
So, all right, I have a question.
Now let me finish. Let me finish. Okay, so I do take electrolytes, and I use the Dr. Berg stuff. Not that I like Dr. Berg, but the product that he makes has 1,000 milligrams of potassium in it, and the 4 strips of bacon I eat usually every day has 300 milligrams of potassium, and then of course there's potassium in all meat. So I usually drink 2 of the electrolyte mixes. That gives me 2,000 milligrams there. I know I'm getting enough potassium because I'm not, and magnesium because I'm not getting cramps. I used to get leg cramps at night. So I take a magnesium citrate. Now there's like 6 or 7 different forms that they sell magnesium oxide, magnesium citrate. The magnesium citrate has a laxative effect to it. And my gut was so screwed up all my life until recently that helped. So I do take 400 milligrams of magnesium. I take 2 times, I drink the electrolyte drink. It's got a little stevia in it, and I like the taste of it, and I mix it with San Pellegrino. So it gives me a little fizzy, slightly sweet thing, and it doesn't trigger any cravings, which is what you have to watch out for with anything that has a sweet taste. And I take the drop of iodine in my coffee in the morning, and that is absolutely the only thing I do besides the food that I eat. Okay, who's
Margaret?
next?
It's either Margaret Bean or Bine. Question: she's a carnivore for 11 days, and she's worried that she's not eating all the fat on her steak. Is it necessary to eat all the fat?
Okay, I don't want to get too much into bathroom talk, but sometimes you do. I learned all this, believe me, I learned all this from watching Ken Berry and all these other guys. And believe me, I've watched pretty much everything that they've ever said. It depends on how you poop. If you're constipated, you're not getting enough fat. If you're runny, maybe you might be getting too much fat. That's a great gauge. That's the gauge that I used, and it worked good. But again, on day 11 or day 6 or even day 14, your body's going to be going through a lot of changes. And you know, when you're saying you're not eating all the fat on your steak, I don't eat all the fat either. I mean, I see these guys that just eat all of that cap fat and everything. I don't do that. So what I do is when I sear off my steaks, I use butter. I use a lot of butter, and I take, when I'm done, I put my steak in a plate, and then I pour what's left in the pan that I seared. I pour the butter on. I try to get a lot of butter, and I try to eat most of the softer fat, but the gristly stuff, I just don't like, and I seem to get enough because when you pour the butter over the steak, anything that's cooked out of the steak is going to be mixed up with the butter. And just try to slurp up as much of that as you can. You know, when you cut a slice of meat, soak it up in the juice that's in the bottom of the plate and eat as much of that as you can. And you should be getting enough fat. The people who eat a lot of chicken breasts, white meat, pork, there's not a lot of fat in that meat. And that's why beef is better. And when you think about our ancestors and the cavemen that didn't know anything about fat to protein ratios, and they didn't have calculators, and they ate it as it came, and our evolution adapted to exactly what was in the food. In other words, the food was always the food. Our machinery fine-tuned itself through evolution over millions of years to best run on what was in the food. So the food has got what you need as long as you eat fatty ruminant meat. the cavemen weren't eating. They were eating fish, but fish have a lot of fat in it. Most fish that they were eating were probably fattier fish. I don't know how many chickens. I don't think that the cavemen were, the people a million years ago were raising chicken. They were out hunting mastodons. They ate these huge, big animals, and those animals all had the right ratio of protein to fat. So they didn't really have to think about it, and they just ate everything. And that's what we're adapted to eat. So the easiest way to make sure you're getting enough fat is eat a lot of bacon, eat a lot of eggs, okay? Because an egg has the perfect ratio, absolutely perfect, by weight, 50-50 fat to protein, which makes it about a 70-30 by calories or 80-20. So if you eat a lot of eggs and you eat a lot of bacon, which is half fat anyway, then I wouldn't worry too much about your steak. Just make sure you get some butter with it. That's
question by Arthur Fonzarelli, believe it or not.
Oh, Fonz. Yeah, Fonz is a prolific commenter. Yeah.
What's your opinion? What does he say? Say someone eats perfect for 2 weeks and then cheats all weekend. Will he ever get all mental benefits, even down
starting back? I can hardly say that. I can hardly guess at the answer, but my guess would be probably not. Probably not. I would ask yourself why try to figure out. I would try to figure out why you have a need for cheating. Try to find out. Try to go to the root cause of what is it that is drawing me? What am I missing? What does this cheating on the weekend fulfill? What emptiness does it fulfill that and try to attack it like at that angle and try to figure out what the trigger is that's causing you to do this. If you can get through a month or two, whatever that trigger was will probably diminish and won't bother you as much. But that's an addiction when that happens. Anytime anybody who's made up their mind, okay, think about this for a minute. You're a strong person, right? This is how human beings think of themselves. I happen to think it's a riot, but this is how human beings think of themselves. Listen, I've heard so many people tell me, I've talked about this diet to everybody. And well, when I make up my mind to do something, I do it. And you ever heard that before? Everybody says, when I make up my mind, I'm going to do it. I say, it's not as easy as you think. No, I'm a strong person. I have a will of steel, they say. And they start the diet, and 7 days later, they're on their way to the ice cream store. You are not in charge. I learned that about addiction when I wrote my first book 20 years ago. You're not in charge. You only think you're in charge. That's why I called my book Taming the Beast Within, because we have a beast within us. We have a living organism that was around long before our consciousness evolved. And it's running the show. And we're too arrogant to admit that. And when we finally do admit it to ourselves, that the only thing we can ever do is figure out how to reason with this thing or control it in somehow, but we cannot boss it around. And when it wants something, it's going to get it. And when it gets addicted to something, because we have kept cramming it in our mouth for half our life, and it wants it, it's going to get it. And once you understand how it works and why it works and what you need to do to stop it or to make it happy, then you're going to succeed. And I have found out through 50 plus years of trying to control that animal that used to drive me to the drugstore at 3 o'clock in the morning to get ice cream, that the only way to make it happy is to get your biochemistry right, the way it's supposed to be. And the only way I have ever found to be able to do that is somehow get through the first 30 days of a carnivore diet and forget about anything that grows any plants, anything else. Now that sounds a little rigid, but it's the first thing, and I considered myself a strong person, but it's the first thing that has allowed me to sustain this for a year, and that's a new record for me. The longest I ever sustained any weight loss was a month or two. Because, hell, look at me. Look how good I look. I'm thin. I need to reward myself. I can, I can just have one pizza maybe or some ice cream. I'll just do it once. It's just a treat. And you give the beast a taste of that again, and down the road you go. And I was making notes for a video I'm going to record, and on the title of the video, I'm going to ask the question, have any of you ever sustained a diet where you lost weight for the rest of your life? Number one, the answer is a qualified no, or else they wouldn't be here watching carnivore diet videos, okay? The answer is everybody that's ever lost weight, everybody that's ever gone to Weight Watchers, bought Nutrisystem, Jenny Craig, every one of these has spent money, gone to a Medi weight loss clinic, anybody and everybody is a return customer. That's how those people stay in business. Everybody that's ever bought a gym membership stopped using it and has to join again when the spirit moves them. It's just the way we are. Yeah, there's a few exceptions, but they don't cure the problem. You can't cure the problem going to Weight Watchers and having desserts. I don't care if it's just a little tiny dessert. It will never let you forget your addiction. And it is addiction that causes weight loss and causes all this stuff. So you have to attack, I think, all weight loss from an addiction angle. I think that's really the way we have to talk about it. And I think we have to, as a society, actually elevate carb addiction to a level of concern of alcoholism, drug addiction, cigarettes, and all the other things. But there's too much money. There's too much money.
Okay, we have a question.
Okay, sorry.
We have two, one back to back. One is, what do you think about sparkling water, which is basically San Pellegrino? Correct?
Oh, you can drink all that you want.
Okay, the next question is, do you take any supplements? And that's by, hold on.
Well, I just answered that one.
Mini.
Yeah, I just answered. Yeah, I take a drop of Lugol's 2%, drop of iodine, about 1,500 micrograms of iodine. I take 2 electrolyte drinks a day, so I can get enough magnesium and potassium. It has salt in it, but I salt my food plenty to get my sodium. And I take a magnesium capsule, and that's it. I would not take a multivitamin. God knows what they put in those things.
Is it true that Centrum has no, like, it's all synthetic Centrum?
I have no idea.
No.
I absolutely have no idea. I mean, all I could do would be to read the label, and I wouldn't know half of what that stuff was anyway.
From Zen, what is that? Arcade?
I must have passed it.
Zen Arcade. I am a week in on carnivore, down 7.5 pounds. For the past 2 days, I have zero hunger and only, you see it?
Once a day.
That's the one.
Would I need to eat more to have full benefits, hoping my appetite increases? Well, that's a kind of an individual thing. My theory is to just keep eating until you're not hungry. And if you're not hungry, I don't know why you'd want to eat unless you started feeling faint and getting sick because you're becoming, you're starving to death. That's a hard one. It's a hard one to give. It's an individual advice without knowing everything about you or how much weight you have to lose or you want to lose or how old you are or what kind of chronic illnesses you have. And there's so many reasons why I can't advise or can't give you any meaningful advice for a question like that. I can only tell you when you need food enough, you'll get hungry. You know what I mean? You'll get hungry. It's just for the first time in a while, if I had to guess, you're actually eating satiating foods. which is something that most people aren't used to, because meat and fat triggers leptin release from your fat cells. Leptin is the satiety hormone, and if your biology, if your biochemistry is working even halfway right, and you're not leptin, what they call leptin resistant, then that leptin will hit your brain. Your brain will say, okay, enough eating, and turns the hunger off. Carbohydrates don't do that. Carbohydrates do not trigger leptin. Carbohydrates actually stimulate your hunger. And there's a reason for that. And the reason is very simple. Back in the day, the only time humans ate carbohydrates was survival food. They ate these sour-tasting, grubby little apples and roots and stuff they dug up from the ground. They didn't have a Whole Foods market. They didn't have fruits and vegetables like we have today. Those things didn't exist until 100, 200 years ago. Those are genetically modified, hybridized, selectively bred to make them more palatable to sugar addicts. Apples today, are as big as cantaloupes and have so much sugar in them, it's crazy. The apples, ancient apples, were horrible, but they were energy, and sugar was energy that the body could use when there was no meat. And we weren't meant to eat the sugar for really long times because it damages us. But the good news was, for the short periods that we ate these survival foods until we got meat again, our body has autophagy and other processes to heal itself, and the small amount of damage that was done by the short periods of eating sugar got healed up, and people got back to meat and got their nutrition. Well, what happened is that when we were starving and we had to resort to these survival foods, it was beneficial to survival for us to stuff our face and eat everything we could, because we might not find some more. So the humans that had whatever brain chemistry came from their genetics that kind of enabled them to not be satisfied eating survival food, so that they would continue to eat it until it was gone or they couldn't eat another drop. That trait was beneficial to survival. Just like if a bear is going to hibernate, the more it eats before it hibernates, the better chance it has of waking up healthy. So think about it. It's survival food. We're basically biologically programmed to gorge on it, okay? We're supposed to gorge on survival food until we can't move. And you tell me if that's not how you are when you're sitting in front of a bowl of spaghetti and meatballs. You just keep eating and eating and eating and eating, and you never feel satisfied until you get so stuffed you can't eat another bite. Try that with a steak. Try that with a 3-pound pot roast, and tell me how far you get into that pot roast before the leptin starts flowing. Your brain says enough already, and it starts tasting bad, and you say, God, I don't want to eat another piece of meat for a week. And that there's a reason for all of those feelings, and there's a reason for all of those responses. And that reason is it was beneficial to our ancestors' survival at some time, not only in our recent past, but in our far, far, far past. Okay? So that, to me, is a simple explanation for why people gorge on sugar and get addicted to sugar. Okay.
All
next
right.
time. I told you I'd get off on these things.
I know. Just real quick, for anybody that doesn't know, this is KGV Mama, but if you do have a question, just write question and then with the question. She wrote, week 2 in, 3 meals a day, steak, red meat, chicken thighs, pork, grass-fed butter. That's
there's another. Is this a different one from her?
It might be, but she's asking why does she feel tired?
It could be. That could be anything. I couldn't possibly know.
Small amounts of Kerrygold cheese and heavy cream as a treat.
Well, if you're eating all the right foods, you're only 3 weeks in. I see a lot of comments on not only my videos but a lot of other people's videos that some people, it just takes time for them for their fat burning pathways to fire up and start working efficiently and get rid of all that sugar that's in there. It's a miraculous metamorphosis that's happening inside of you. You might not realize what's going on. Most of us don't realize what's going on inside our bodies at any given moment. It is. I mean, I'll give you these are the things that just fascinate me. For example, I'll stop for a second and go off on a tangent. The human body is a collection of trillions of basically independent living things working in cooperation with each other. Okay? We have trillions of cells of all different kinds. Each cell is in itself a living organism that has all its own machinery to stay alive, because every cell at one point is the result of a bacteria or a prehistoric cell, which they call prokaryotes. And what happened was all these cells kind of got together and found out that they could work in harmony with each other. But each one of those is a living thing, and they live and they die, and then they're replaced with the offspring of other living cells because cells divide. But that's all going inside us every minute. Now, inside each one of these trillions of cells is the most fabulous and amazing molecular machinery that anybody could ever imagine, that carries on the business of life, of living. You've all heard of mitochondria. Mitochondria started out hundreds of millions of years ago as a bacteria that was swallowed up by another cell, and they decided they could live with each other. And when the eukaryotes came along, which is cells that have nucleuses, the mitochondria's job was to make the energy. And to this day, every one of our trillion or so or more living cells has hundreds of these little mitochondria, which are each individual little factories running little machines made out of proteins. Some of them are so complex that they actually have things like motors in them that spin at tens of thousands of RPM, generating energy. And it's going on at such a microscopic level in every cell of our body. Well, this machinery has been running on sugar. And it's going to take some time for all of that machinery at a molecular level to get used to doing what it's really been supposed to do, what it evolved to do. And that was use fat as a primary fuel. So it's a fascinating thing. I mean, it's. I can't tell you
forever, right?
I could.
Okay. Question by Jar. I believe it's Jar D, and he wants to know if you add milk or cream to your coffee, and if you do, what kind, and as well, do you add butter? JARD.
Okay.
I don't know if you see it.
Is it? I like to put them up there because I like to acknowledge.
It's
the
look
question.
above Drone Shot's pizza comment. Jar D.
I don't see it. Anyway, okay. No, a lot of people do, especially on keto, and then there's people that promote this bulletproof coffee. There are also people who promote always worrying about how high your ketone levels are, because they say unless you're in ketosis, you can't lose weight. And I don't agree with that either. I don't think it's that the cavemen were worrying about whether they were in ketosis. They ate the food they were supposed to eat. They got their sunlight. They moved around, they rested, they slept, and they were as healthy as they could be because they evolved in all of those conditions that, and they're designed to best live in those conditions. But if you're not getting enough fat from your food, if you're eating a lot of chicken and white meat pork, white meat chicken and pork, and you're not eating a lot of fatty red meat, ruminant meat, and you think you need some more fat, sure, why not? As long as it doesn't have any calories or it doesn't have any sugar in it. Now, just be careful. You can use heavy whipping cream because that's mostly milk fat, but half and half, you're going to start downing some lactose, which is milk sugar, and that's sugar, and you're going to be getting carbs. Butter in the coffee. A lot of people do that. Some people, even Ken Berry says he does it sometimes. They love the taste of it. I've been drinking black coffee for so many years, I wouldn't want to screw it up. I like it just the way it is.
Question by Hachi. Question. I am 44. I was low carb for 2 years, but kept gaining weight. I am now, he's on day 6. I haven't lost a pound. Do you know why? I am eating ribeye, ground beef, strict carnivore. No coffee or tea.
You're at day 6.
Give it time.
This is not an instant. You don't start carnivore today and lose weight by tomorrow. In fact, if you watched my video on the first 30 days, I was adamant about staying off the scale for the first 30 days, and this is the reason why. You might go 30 days without losing a pound. You might gain weight. Your body's going to be going through. And again, I don't know you. I don't know what your habits were, what your eating habits were, how much weight you have to lose. I don't know any of that. So I can't possibly tell you why you haven't lost weight. But what I can tell you is, and I mean, I can tell you this almost for sure. You eat beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, and you all heard that one, for 30 days. And nothing else. And eat until you can't eat anymore. Just eat until the thought of eating disgusts you. And if you get hungry, eat more. Eat. I mean, that's the one job for 30 days. Don't think about ketones and ketosis. Don't think about anything except eating and taking electrolytes for 30 days. Stay off the scale, because when you get on the scale, Hochi, you're going to say, I've been on this for 6 days. I should have lost weight. This isn't working. I'm done. And you've sabotaged something that hasn't even had a chance to start working. Your body does not like to give up weight. Okay, that's just one thing about our bodies. Weight and fat is security for our bodies. It's security. It's our external fuel tank. It's there for a reason. The problem is we've got too much fuel out there in the 7-Elevens these days. But in the not too distant past, if you had a little fat on you, your survival odds were much greater. So our physiology doesn't want us to give up fat. We want to hold on to that fat, which is why you're invariably, when you're on a diet, you're gonna get to stalls. If you didn't stall in your weight loss at some point, there's something wrong with you. Your body has to get used to giving up the weight, and it's going to fight you. It's going to fight you. So give it time, Hochi. Take your time. Give it the 30 days. Don't cheat. Don't worry about anything except making sure you are never hungry and always have something with you to eat. And try it and see what happens. And come back and tell me, because in 30 days, then get on the scale. You'll probably find out you lost 15 pounds.
Okay,
Who's
Barb.
next?
I'm sorry, Barb. I don't know H. Lud, but she asked a question before. She wants to know, what is the difference between grass-fed butter? Isn't all butter the same? I'm sorry, isn't all butter grass-fed?
No, because you can get butter out of the cream that comes out of a feedlot animal that's been eating grains. And that's the difference. There's some nutrients in that might be in, that are probably in the grass-fed butter, because the cow that is making the milk that butter's made from has been eating grass that's growing in soil that has a lot of micronutrients in it that the soybean crap that they're feeding the cows in the feedlots don't have. And again, I said it earlier in the stream, and I'm sure probably a lot of people are coming and going, but I said that a cow can't possibly have a single nutrient in its body that it didn't eat at some point. And that's why even if you try to eat the right foods, you might be eating an animal that was malnourished. So that nutrient that we need is not in the animal that we are, which is why the big push for sustainable farming, where cows can roam in pastures that are rotated and they're allowed to crap on the fields, and the crap fertilizes the soil and puts back some of these nutrients so that the next cow comes along, can eat the grass that grew out of the soil that has the nutrients from the last cow's crap, and on we go. And that's the cycle. That's the cycle of life that we as humans have completely disrupted with our factory farming and big machines and tractors and chemical fertilizers and monocropping and all that. And I don't know, people know about the problem. They know that they're killing the soil, they're killing nutrition, they're doing almost irreparable damage to the planet and to the living things on the planet. They know that because their scientists who design this stuff have to know that. But just like the scientists who design the cookies and crackers know they're killing the people that are going to eat it, or making them sick, giving them diabetes. But there's too much money, and unfortunately, it's always going to come down to the money.
KGV Mama wants to
Yes.
know, what is your thought on raw cow's milk?
I couldn't tell you one way or the other. I know nothing about that. I'll be honest with you. I don't drink milk. I think, and Carlos asked me this earlier today, I think that milk is for babies. Milk is for babies. It's not for adults of any species. You don't find adult cows drinking milk. You don't find adult lions drinking milk. Only the babies do, because milk has stuff in it that babies need to grow and get fat. And why an adult would want to consume something designed to make a baby fat is beyond me. That's why I don't understand a lot of times why people think that grains are so healthy for them, because grains are what food scientists use to fatten up cattle. Anything that eats grains gets fat. Now, we like marbled steaks with a lot of fat running in them. So yeah, that's a benefit of grain-fed. And people who buy grass-fed meat complain that it's not as juicy. It's not as good as God knows what they feed these Wagyu cows that are all fat, you know. So we've got so much wrong, and we've been fed all this stuff. The biggest problem that we have wrong is that everybody, is brainwashed, including 99% of the medical profession. And that's the scary part. That's the scary part. And one of the things I hope to accomplish is give you guys enough ammunition through a lot of the future videos that I have coming up, and all the other big guys on the carnivores, Ken Berry, Chafee, and them. They can't tell you enough how ignorant your doctors are, and they don't even know they're ignorant. They think they're right because that's what they were taught, and they have no idea where that knowledge actually came from. I'm going to tell you one thing, which may be what your appetite is. 123 people here. Okay. I'm going to make a video in the next day or two. It's not the first time this video was ever made. It's a video that's going to tell the story. It's going to tell the story of how one woman that lived in the mid-1800s, named Ellen G. White, Does anybody know who that was?
Sounds familiar.
Ellen
Name.
G. White.
Go ahead.
Ellen G. White. How this one woman that lived, that was born in 1850 something, 1, 2, named Ellen G. White, looking back, has killed more human beings and made more human beings suffer than anything, including wars, in the history of the planet Earth. Nobody even comes close. One woman is responsible for the mess we're in right now with an addicted population that gets sicker and sicker every day, gets more mentally ill, more dementia, more diabetes, more heart disease. I've watched in-laws go out in such horrible ways from illness caused by what this friggin' woman started 150 years ago. And I'm going to tell the whole story. And I'm not the first one, because Belinda Fettke recorded a whole video with all the evidence and all the articles. Gary Taub, who's a tremendous nutrition reporter, recorded, he's given 100 speeches outlining how this woman started this whole mess. Nina Teicholz, another one. They're all over YouTube. And yet, when you ask anybody today, nobody knows who, it doesn't come to mind. And it should.
Seventh-day Adventist?
She was the woman who founded the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And the series of events that went, I don't want to give it all up, but I am going to make this video. But the series of events that went from this lunatic woman who is so mentally ill that she convinced everybody that she talked to God every night. She had fits and talked to God, and God told her that humans should eat from the garden, and that eating meat causes men to have impure thoughts and masturbate.
Yeah.
And then she put a young doctor through medical school. I'll tell you. I mean, it's such, and it's true. And this young doctor's name was John Harvey Kellogg. Okay, and John Harvey Kellogg and the Seventh-day Adventist Church opened the Battle Creek, Michigan Sanitarium in the early 1900s to cure people from impure sexual thoughts, masturbation, and other ridiculous things. And Kellogg and his brother went on to invent cornflakes, which now is Kellogg's, which is one of the biggest companies on the planet, especially in food. And they're killing us with this food they're making now. But what happened over the course of history? And it's all, you can Google it all. It's amazing. You can just start Googling stuff, and it's all there. And it's been tremendously documented. This Ellen G. White was named one of the 100 most influential women in America. And now the Advent Health System controls everything when it comes to nutrition. They sit on the board of directors of all government agencies that determine the nation's food policy. They own a university where they educate people, and doctors, a medical school where they educate doctors with this, red meat is bad philosophy. They started the vegan and vegetarian movement. They have influence and money that you wouldn't believe. They're in every country of the world. They have clinics and hospitals and doctors. Their reach is James Bond-like diabolical. And it all came from this one woman and her conversations with God. And I marvel, I absolutely marvel at how could this happen. And any of you out there, any of you people out there that have relatives, that have parents or grandparents that are suffering terribly with diabetes, maybe they've had their foot amputated, or they're in a nursing home with dementia or Alzheimer's, this woman is to blame. End of story. The woman has done more damage to the human race than anything except mass extinction events on this planet. And I believe she started the next great mass extinction of the human race. I really believe that if this goes on for another 100 or 200 years, fertility will drop to zero because we're so sick. The crap we're eating is going to destroy us. And I don't think we have a chance. I worry more about that than I do nuclear war. But that's just me. Okay, let's get on a lighter note. And
no other questions at this point.
Okay, all right. Well, we've been going for an hour and a half, so I think I hate to close the party when there's still 120 people in here. 130.
Can I ask a question now?
Sure, Carlos. Go ahead. Hold on a second. Let me take your thing off so I can see you. All right. Let me bring you back in here. Okay. I'll bring you in equal to me, same size. How's that? Okay.
Well, no, I would like to know a little bit more with the supplements, when you do need them, when you don't need them. Let's say someone like me who, just so everybody knows, I still have my milk and I'll have cream cheese, so that's dairy. And I have my meats, the meat, the eggs, the bacon, everything else. When do I stop taking supplements, or what supplements could I use other than the electrolytes that
well, I think the only supplements you need.
Magnesium, you said also.
Yeah, I take magnesium, but those are the minerals. Those are the elements: potassium, sodium, magnesium. They're not vitamins. Vitamins are complex molecules, and you should, if you're eating beef, even if the beef isn't grass-fed, chances are. I defer to Ken Berry a lot on so many of these answers, and he says, if all you were to eat was Spam and hot dogs, you'd be 1,000% better off than the standard American diet. Even though Spam and hot dogs may have some crap in them, the amount of crap is nowhere near what you get eating what most Americans eat. So as long as you just concentrate on eating the animal products, you'll be rewarded after your body gets used to it with a freedom from cravings and draws from food that you can't believe. And I'm telling you because it happened to me. If I wasn't so amazed at how life has changed for me, not being a slave to food, I'm still astounded at it, and that's why I'm doing this. I'm trying to.
Okay, so make my life.
Do I like an evangelist? Yeah, I feel like an evangelist here. I want to.
Can you make a list? Or I know I'm giving you more work potentially. Like on your descriptions.
You always do, Carlos.
I know, but on your descriptions, maybe make a list for people like me who are a little bit ignorant, who don't necessarily study all this.
It doesn't even take a list. We talk about it all the time. You get yourself an electrolyte drink. There's only two that I would probably recommend. LMNT, which I don't like particularly because I don't think it has enough potassium in it, and the Dr. Berg's one, which I don't like because I don't like Dr. Berg. But that's another story. Just not liking Dr. Berg doesn't mean that the product that he's endorsing isn't a good product, okay? And the only way I can tell is I look at the ingredients and it has what I want in it. And it doesn't taste bad, and it's on Amazon, and it's in every video of mine has all those links to Amazon products,
okay,
which everybody can use, and they're affiliate links. I'm not ashamed of that. They're affiliate links, and if you use those links, Amazon pays me a finder's fee of almost nothing, but it adds up, and I got to tell you, it doesn't cost. I mean, I don't want to charge anybody for anything that I'm doing. I've been approached, guys. I've been approached already by 2 companies that want me to advertise on my videos their products. I've been approached because I'm doing products about videos about cooking and meat. Komodo, the people that make the green egg things, they want me to represent. And then another company that makes a portable stainless steel grill for cooking. I will, and that's after 2-3 weeks. Okay, they're already approaching me to sell for them. No. If I wanted a job and to make a big living, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be out there in the world with a business, but if I'm retired and I live basically on my Social Security and the little work I do for my daughter, and could I use money? Of course I could use money. I suffer from inflation, but I don't want to charge anybody out of their pocket for me doing this. I didn't start it to do that. I didn't start this even thinking it would even grow anywhere near what it's grown in 2 weeks. Do you know that it was 2 weeks ago I made that thank you video where, I was still depressed back then. I was astounded, but that was 2 weeks. All this has happened in 2 weeks. In the meantime, as everybody started asking me, where do you get that? Where'd you get the sous vide thing? Where'd you get the slow cooker? Where'd you get the electrolytes? So I said, okay. And from back in the drone days, I had an Amazon account, which I hadn't used, associates account. And so I went in there, and there's a thing at the top of every page when I go into Amazon, and it gives me a link that I can use for that product where Amazon knows that it was a recommendation from me. So I made up all these links, and I figured that, it doesn't cost my viewers anything. It doesn't matter if they buy it with that link or they go right to Amazon. Amazon doesn't charge them more because they're going to pay me a few bucks. So everybody on YouTube has an Amazon Associates account. And the most often heard phrase on YouTube is, the link is in the description below. How many times have you heard that? Okay, well, and it doesn't cost you anything. And even better than that is if you were to go to Amazon and using one of my links for, say, electrolytes, and while you were there, before you logged out, spend another $100,000, they would pay me a commission on the entire amount you spend during that whole session, which is crazy. Never happened to me, but that's how it works. So those links down there, in the first month that I have been doing these videos, I actually made a couple $100. And a couple $100, it helps me out. But I don't want to come on here and try to be a voice of reason in this community of ours and act like a pitch man for every product. And I notice more and more of these carnivore YouTubers are starting to be selling things on their channel. And I don't blame them. I don't blame anybody who wants to make money. But I'm retired. I'm happy. I was okay before this. And I'll be okay after this. And, if I get a little extra help, if I make a few bucks during this, fine. I don't want anybody to hold that against me. So I'm not going to, I'm not going to sell myself out to where everybody. And another thing you may have noticed about me, and I don't mind bragging about this because I'm proud of this. When you tune into one of my videos, you get right into it. I try to give you a 15 to 30 second funny little intro, which is, to make you laugh or something. Then I give you my 5-second introduction. Then I'm into the subject. What you don't hear from me is 2 minutes of, hi, you can really help me out if you like me. If you click the like button on my video, and while you're at it, click the subscribe button and click that little bell over there so that you'll be notified. Now, how the hell do I know if I want to click somebody's video if I haven't even seen the video yet? Okay? I think it's a little presumptuous to ask somebody to subscribe to you until they've actually seen what you do. And the reason that these people all put it in the beginning of their videos is that very few people make it to the end of a video on YouTube. People don't have an attention span these days. So they figure, well, if I ask them to subscribe at the end, most of them won't. But who the hell thinks people are going to subscribe to a channel just because the guy says he could use the help to grow his channel? I can't do that. Maybe I give people credit for too much intelligence, but you'll never hear pitches. In fact, I even stopped. I used to have a little graphic at the end. I did a couple times. It said subscribe and like. I didn't even put that there. I figure if somebody thinks I have something that's interesting, they'll want to subscribe, and they have been. So I'm never gonna play that. Although every advisor of how to make money on YouTube tells people that's what they have to do. Okay.
How often do you eat sardines a week?
How often do I what?
How often do you eat sardines in a week?
About once a week. Either sardines or anchovies. I'm not really all that fond of them. That's why I mash them up and throw them in an omelet. But
no tuna. Oh, you know what? Let me see. There's any other questions? I don't think so. I've been trying to keep up.
I see the sardine question there.
Yeah, mayonnaise is not good because of the oil, right? The seed oil.
Yeah. Now you can make mayonnaise yourself with mayonnaise is just eggs and oil. And you can make with any kind of, you can make bacon grease mayonnaise. You can make butter mayonnaise. I never liked mayonnaise anyway. The only time I ever used mayonnaise in my entire life was in tuna fish salad. Because the tuna really.
That's what I was going to get at.
Blotted out the eggs. Okay, the taste of the mayonnaise. I don't like the taste of mayonnaise. So I don't like it enough to ever make it because I used to eat tuna salad. I used to eat it on pork rinds. But back when I was in keto, I used to chop up celery and onions and that stuff and put it in there. And
I add balsamic vinegar to mine.
I tried to make tuna salad when I first started carnivore, and I just didn't have the taste for it. So I just stopped. I just don't need it. I've limited my variety in food down to nothing, and I'm happy that way. I'm happier that way. It's easy. Don't have to think a lot about it. How many people agonize over what's going to be for dinner? I don't ever do that anymore.
But I mean, you know what? They have a whole channel about food, the Food Network, and one of the things they always talk about is texture when you eat. So the crunch, like you said, with the pork grinds and stuff like that, it adds a little something.
Yeah, but we don't need that. We don't need that because once you get your chemistry right, once your body is nourished, is not malnourished. Everybody is malnourished now, but once you get nourished, you actually get enough of all the stuff you need in you. None of that stuff that they make out to be important is important because they've turned eating into a sport, and it's not a sport. Okay, they've turned it into an event. It's not an event. It's like driving. It's like how much of an event is it when you take your car and fill it up at a gas station? Do you watch TV shows about 37 different ways to insert the hose? No.
No, I got you.
Yeah. No.
No, I'm just saying, but texture is when you eat, or I guess when you're used to eating the other way, and now you have to go to this.
When you're eating, of course, we're all used to that, but we if we want to be healthy and we want to be thin, we need to get out of used to that. And
right.
They've invented their own words. They invented a great word for that. And the word they invented was mouthfeel. Mouthfeel. I love that word. The mouthfeel. And they came up with words to describe flavor sensations like umami. And if you watch the Food Channel enough, they hook you into this stuff. I mean, everybody's got to be a gourmet. And it's when you really watch them, when you go into a fine restaurant and the way the cooks and the chefs in the kitchen, decorate. They don't just put the food on a plate. They decorate the plate with the food. I mean, everything's got to be laid right on top. I mean, it's ridiculous. In its absurdity, but we all take it seriously, don't we? I don't know. I find it absurd. I didn't used to find it absurd. I used to have a restaurant. I used to be very concerned about how the plates looked when they went out. Now, throw a hunk of meat on a plate, or just give it to me and I'll eat it with my hands.
Mitch, you don't do any gardening, right? You don't grow anything on your
No, I don't. Why would I? Why would I? No.
Good question there.
No gardening. But I mean, because I do it doesn't mean that's the right way. Sometimes what's right for somebody is not right for, isn't right. And somebody may really be able to add in a small amount of plant food or spices or onions or things like that with no ill effects whatsoever. But these are the things we have to experiment with. But before we can experiment with anything, we have to have a control. Because you need a control in every experiment. You need a starting point. You need something to compare something else to. So if you're having medical issues and you're pretty sure it's caused by food, okay, and you decide, well, okay, I'm going to start cutting out 3 foods at a time and see if they help and all that. You could spend the rest of your life, because sometimes when you cut out the food, the effects of cutting out the food won't show up for months. So how do you know what it was that was wrong? That's why they say the carnivore is the ultimate elimination diet and provides a great starting point for people so that they can start adding things in one at a time. Then once you've been cured and once you're healed and once your Crohn's disease has gone away, because you stopped eating that one particular plant toxin that was causing it, that you've been unable to discover all your life, and you can start adding foods in and find out what you can tolerate, and then you're good. When you find out what you can tolerate, then that's something you can eat. You don't necessarily have to eat meat all your life. Our ancestors did eat plants of some sorts. And again, everybody, not only is their chemistry maybe a little individual, but so is the shape they're in, and what has happened to them up in their life up to this point. What else? We got any more questions here? Or are we worn everybody out?
Well, no, they're making comments with no questions. I'm actually going to look into, because I saw this about a week ago, but I forgot about it, is a meatball and bacon recipe. Seems interesting.
Yeah, Mama Bear. I wish I could find a refrigerator with a large freezer and small refrigerator. Yeah, you and me both. My refrigerator is always empty. Is carnivore good for children? Look at Ken Berry and his 2 kids. Have you seen his 2 kids? Have you seen his 2 kids on any of his videos? I have never seen bigger, healthier looking 1- and 3-year-olds in my life. And these kids were raised carnivore from day one.
I heard a woman on Anthony Chaffee's, she fed her newborn or her very, infant bone marrow, and she lets them suck on the bone, meat and bone as well. And
they'll do that.
Baby. Yeah.
Ken Berry said the first solid food that their new baby had was eating what was left on a rib, and the baby just kept gnawing on the thing.
Yeah.
You ever noticed kids don't like vegetables? Children don't want to eat vegetables. They don't like them. They push them away. You got to force kids to eat vegetables. They want to eat meat. There's a reason. Because they're programmed that way, and nobody has deprogrammed them into thinking that vegetables are the way to go.
Ashi's child is carnivore.
How can it hurt any animal to feed it what it's biologically adapted to eat? And interesting, I did some reading one time. I went to some of these I went to some of the websites of these feed manufacturers that make the feed for animals, for cows, for dairy, and they have different feeds depending on what the purpose of if you have a milk cow, you would feed it completely differently than you would feed a cow that you're raising for slaughter. They have scientists that work at these big feed companies that make the feed for these animals. And these scientists understand how that animal is supposed to be fed. And they know if they feed that animal something wrong, they're going to hurt it. And that animal isn't buying shit from them. Excuse me. Even I talk too much.
While you're taking a drink, I just want to say hello to one of our old drone guys, Newfound Drone Production. Remember him?
Oh, yeah.
He's in there saying hello to both of us. Anyway, you were saying.
All right, so they know, and when they publish on their websites the feed formulas for these different things that they're selling, because when they sell a product, like anything else, they have to provide an ingredient list and the science behind the feed. And the science behind the feed from these kind of companies is spot on. They know what they're doing. When they want to fatten up a cow, they know that they've got to feed them corn, because they know the sugar in the corn will fatten up the cow for slaughter. I mean, they know that. Yet the companies that want to feed this same corn to humans, they know that it's going to fatten up the humans and make them sick. But they know that it's also going to addict the humans to it, and they're going to keep buying it and make them a lot more money. So there are no morals in that industry. Same thing with the zookeeper. Go talk to a zookeeper and ask them what they feed their animals. What do you feed your lion, Mr. Zookeeper? Raw meat. Raw meat? I thought raw meat caused heart attacks. Why don't you feed your lion Doritos? They'd look at you like you were crazy. That'll kill the lion. The lion's a carnivore, don't you know that? And to make sure that that lion isn't eating Doritos, you see signs all over zoos that say, do not feed the animals. Why do you think those signs are there? Because if you feed an animal anything other than what its appropriate diet is, it'll hurt the animal. It'll make the animal sick and maybe kill the animal. Well, we're animals. We may not want to admit it, but we are animals descended from all the animals before us. And it hurts us. What are you pointing at, Carlos? I'll let you stay in here.
You're an animal. You're an animal. That's all.
I am.
I know. Anyway, that's it for the questions. Other than that, comments. And an hour and 45 in.
Yeah, I think that's,
After
I figure
2 hours, I'm going to take a...
No, I don't think I'm going to go 2 hours tonight. I figured we'd go about an hour and a half. So this is great.
Well, I was going to say,
again, we still got people
hours,
in there.
I want some of your those little bucks that you make on your... I'm just kidding.
I really hope that everybody found this entertaining, and
try to keep up with the questions.
Carlos, you've been a big help. You've been a big help tonight. I appreciate that, and you've behaved yourself. Everybody, give Carlos
this is a little bit more serious. We had more fun with the drone channels.
Well, the drones
and we knew the guys a lot.
Well, and interestingly enough, I recognize a lot of names here. There's been so many. I don't know if you guys realize it or not, but right now I have 9,418 subscribers.
And I remember when I first was
3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, I had 1,300 left over from the drone guys.
Yep.
According to my analytics, I have had, listen to this, in the past 28 days, which is all carnivore stuff, I've had 337,000 views. Okay.
Wow.
337,000 views on these little videos I've made. 24.1 thousand watch hours. Greater than 8,000 additional subscriptions. And for all of that, YouTube's going to pay me $431. So I didn't even expect to make any money, and I was shocked to see that YouTube's going to pay me.
Wow.
So that was now think about it. For all the work that I've done over the past 4 weeks, for $431. I wouldn't take a job to do that. But I am so thrilled that none of you people had to give me that $431. It comes out of YouTube's, Google's pocket.
I think you're having fun at the same time.
I'm loving this. And any money that I might make from Amazon doesn't come out of your pockets. You guys are my viewers and my friends. It comes out of Jeff Bezos's pocket, and he can afford it. So
I have an idea.
I feel like that was a victory, you know.
I have a good idea. You know that meat T-shirt that you have?
Yeah.
Buy me one day, so I can represent well.
I'll do it, Carlos, for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I want to say you're welcome, and thanks for saying thank you to Carnivore Soldier and Hashi.
All right, buddy. So we will. I'm going to say my goodbyes and say goodbye to you, and we'll have you back next week. Okay.
God willing. Yep.
All right, man.
Everybody, take care.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
We'll talk, Mitch. Adios.
Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, that was Carlos. Carlos was a huge help tonight. I didn't know how much of a help. He knew when to rein me in, because don't get me started. Everybody who knows me says, you know, Tessa, don't get him started. Don't get him started. I do have a tendency to get into rants about things, especially absurd things. I have a ball doing this stuff. I have to, and I'm getting more used to getting more back in the swing of which buttons to push. I don't know if you were here in the beginning, but this is what I'm working with. And I have, you know, buttons to change scenes. I have audio mixers over here. You know, I'm using a pretty high quality microphone. I've got green screens behind me, lights up on top of the monitors there that light my face so you can see me. I've got lights bouncing off the ceilings to light all the rest of the room. And it's kind of an elaborate setup to do this. Most of the other people that do it, they sit in their room. But when I did the drone work, when I did the drone live streams, I had a whole workshop, and I had to have all this stuff because I had overhead cameras that pointed down to the workshop, and you know, just for fun, they're all on this channel. If you just look at videos and start scrolling backwards, you'll get to a ton of drone stuff. And watch 2 minutes of an old drone live stream because they were free for alls. I got to tell you. So this is this is how I have it set up. I have a pretty complex little setup. I can if I wanted to, I can actually put myself and make people think that, like so many of them do, that I just live this, you know, and tell people this is my house, and this is where I live. It's all magic. It's all done, you know, with backgrounds and green screens and everything else. And if you really, I mean, I'm showing you the man behind the curtain here. If you really want to see what this looks like, I'll show you. You saw what the studio looks like from the front. This is what it looks like from the back. That's just it. This picture on the sides is basically a graphic on my computer, and what the software does is anything that's green in the picture, it makes transparent so that the background image flows through. So when I turn that back on, that disappears and everything behind it shows up. It's really cool, and gadget freak that I am, I just love it. I love it. So we've been at it long enough. Still got 111 people here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. 2 weeks ago, I made that video where I thanked everybody, which really came from my heart. This thing has done things I never thought it would. It will not keep up the pace of the last 2 weeks. I don't know if I can. I'm going to settle into maybe 3 videos a week and a live stream but for the past 2-3 weeks, I've been doing 1 video every day in order to build a small library of what they call legacy videos, videos that never are irrelevant. In other words, any recipe video, any video that has instructions, how to fix your car, those things are going to be just as relevant 5 years from now as they are now. So they'll continue to be reference items, and I can refer people to them. And Ken Berry does that. He has 800 or 900 of those videos on every disease, every subject, and they can't get old. If I did a video about the people that, lost their homes in Hurricane so-and-so, that's news. That's gone in a week, those things. So I want to get these legacy videos, these how-to videos, how to start carnivore, how to transition from the 30 days to a sustainable version that you can keep up for the rest of your life and enjoy. I want to make videos where I expose, like I was talking a little bit about tonight, the Ellen G. Whites and John Harvey Kellogg's of the world who got us into this mess because they were friggin' lunatics. It wasn't even for the money they did it. They did it because of some ridiculous delusions that they had. I have already 50 to 100 ideas written down for future videos that I hope to make that are insightful and are meaningful and might make you look at things from a slightly different angle. And sometimes that's all you need to do to really have that light bulb go off in your head. So that's the future. That's the future for me. I want to be doing this live stream every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. Almost didn't do it tonight because, as you know, we have a little hurricane coming through in Florida. And I'm over on the east coast of Florida. I'm in Melbourne. I thought we were going to be way far enough away from this thing. But if you've ever seen a hurricane, they have things called feeder bands. They're always on the right side of the hurricane. And we got a feeder band come through here 2 hours ago with 60-mile-an-hour winds and lightning like I've never seen in my life. And I'm saying to myself, I don't think I want to be sitting there with headphones on working on a computer when the house gets hit by lightning. But it cleared up, luckily, and I got to do this. So I will wrap it up now. Breaks my heart to tell 100 people the party's over, but I'll wrap it up now. I want to thank every one of you for coming and staying, and I'll see you in the videos. I'll look forward to seeing you next week at 7 o'clock, and you know the rest. Take the rest of the day off. Eat meat.